Hello there. I wanted to share with you a method I came up with for depth 6+ on the Doom. The goal is to safely and consistently set up 2 rocks for the first 2 slams of car phase, and then drag the boss into the southwest corner, where there's likely to be more rocks that haven't been destroyed yet, and where any acid that you get from orb phase won't be a problem with the setup for the next round. Like a lot of tiles, but in reality, you're only ever using the southeast corner. It's mirrored for the other 3 corners that you can use with the rock block, just in case acid covers up all of the tiles that you need to use the bottom right. The boss will phase into shield phase upon reaching 75% health, and we want to set up at least the rock on the rock block tile before that happens. At the start of the phase, I run straight to the rock block tile. Then I'm going to wait until I see the boulder attack happens. When I see the boulder start to dip down, I'm going to run to one of the white or pink tiles, and then I'm going to use my Chally to deal with the melee punish that happens along with the boulders. The brown square here represents how far the debris can scatter. You need to make sure that you don't react to the boulder exploding, but move 1 tick before it explodes. You can do that just by looking when it starts to dip down. Then you can run all the way outside the range of the debris, which means that you'll never be placing your rock on a tile that has debris, which would cause it to go in a random spot, and you'll never be taking damage from at least the first set of debris. The tiles here are coded pink and white to show you which tile you'll be dragged to, just in case there's acid on one or both of them. Here's the plan for car phase. The yellow, blue, and purple tiles show you where you can stand in order to drag the boss in a certain direction without actually being underneath the boss when he actually charges. I found those tiles by figuring out where the boss will actually choose to place the eye based on where you're standing. Here's the chart of what happens. The gray tile in the center is the center tile, not the southwest tile. He always chooses based off of his center tile. Once the boss has chosen one of these 8 directions, it will look at wherever the player is along that axis, and then place the eye 4 tiles further along that axis. Using that info, we can see that there are tiles that we can stand on that will lure the boss in a certain direction without also being run over by the boss. Since these are kind of off to the side of where the boss is driving at, I like to think of them as like a sidewalk. Like, of course, you're not going to get run over if you're standing on the sidewalk. The overall plan is to drag the boss east or north if you're doing the mirrored version, and have it land on top of the rock, which will give you rock block, which means that no other rocks in the room will get destroyed. This only works when Mocha is moving east or north. Usually when Mocha slams a 31 by 31 square around it, or a 15 tile radius of rocks gets destroyed. Even though it has rounded edges in the visual, it's actually an entire square of rocks that get destroyed around it. Since we did rock block, the rock that we placed on the tile right before we challied is still going to be alive. So when we drag it into the southeast corner, that's the rock that we're going to hide behind. After that one gets destroyed, we're going to drag it west. The left 7 columns of the room, any rocks that were there will not have been destroyed because of that 31 by 31 square. They're outside of that. The further west you can safely drag the boss on purple, the better off you'll be, because that means when orb phase starts, the acid will be less likely to splatter in areas that you actually care about. If you can make it all the way to the line labeled as 3 tick, then your car phase is actually going to be extended by 1 tick if you can place the eye while you're standing on that tile or further. This is because car phase gets 1 extra tick per tick of movement that the car does. On depth 8+, the car moves 8 tiles per tick, so we need to reach a movement of at least 17 tiles in order to get it to be 3 ticks long. All of the other movements here are 2 ticks long. That's the full explanation of the tiles. Now I'll show some actual examples of doing this procedure. Here's an example where the Chally just instantly phases. I run to the rock block spot, attack the boss. I see that the shield goes apart, so I do auto attacks. I know it's doing auto attacks. When I see the shield go together, I know it's launching meteors, so I'm watching the first one. When I see it dip, run to any of the tiles and then Chally. And then once I have moved from casting the Chally, I know that I need to start prayer flicking. Here's one again where I do the Chally spec, but the Chally spec doesn't actually end up phasing. See, when it dips down, I go. Flick, flick, flick. And then I'm just standing here. I had a 7-tick delay, so I'm not really wasting any time. And then here's an example where absolutely everything goes wrong, but I'm able to handle it just fine with the setup. Does meteors immediately and a grub. I don't care about the grub. I just go and do the thing. There's no punish, so I just run in a random direction instead of challenging. I still know when I got to the marked tile, that's when I'm going to start flicking. And doing the run like that also allows me to dodge all of the debris. So I know for sure that my boulder isn't going to land on debris and get nulled at all. The grubs tend to end up somewhere on the west side here, so it can be pretty annoying to get to the ZCB spot in time. I'm not 100% sure how it decides where to put the grubs, but it usually ends up being on the west side somewhere. I know that that grub will finish it, so I'm going to go to the spot, start spam clicking the boss to ZCB it, and then I'm going to T-bow. I'm on the yellow tile, completely dodge the boss. Run to the blue tile at any point before he does the next eye. Waiting to see the eye, and then I know I'm ready to move. This boulder here is the boulder that I set up for myself. I'm completely safe. When he does the final slam, or the second slam, I run to the purple. Anywhere in the purple or further west is fine. This method should allow you to have maximum DPS throughout all of car phase, meaning that you should kill before you have to deal with the orb most of the time. If you don't have a Zerite crossbow, you can use dragon knives or a toxic blowpipe. You're going to be staying pretty close to the boss for the start of car phase anyways, so it shouldn't be too hard to get those off. If you notice you don't have enough special attack energy at the start of car phase, then you can stall for as long as you want on shield phase by just not killing the boss. You can also use Ancient Godsword special attacks during shield phase to get a 25 heal if you're trying to delve really, really deep. Eventually though, all of your important tiles will become covered with acid, at which point you just kind of have to freestyle the boss. This should still be a really consistent method for reaching the 10s or 20s of depths. Tile markers are in the description. Let me know down below if you have any questions about this or ideas to make this method even better. Thanks for watching.